for joining. I just hit the record button so that we could keep the session available for anyone else who hasn't had a chance to join in. So I want to welcome you to ICF South Florida Chapters Locals Only series, where we have the great fortune of being able to draft off of the breadth of experience in our community of coaches. I'm very excited for those who have signed up this year and look forward to it. But today, I'm grateful to be able to introduce Eric Goeres, a Miami-based revenue and profitability coach who works with entrepreneurs and business leaders. Eric spent 2 decades in New York City, rising within the ranks of the publishing industry. And as you can imagine, a 20-year career builds broad and deep skills within an industry. But along the way, Eric accrued skills that translate very well into the coaching industry, namely assisting people with leadership, mentorship, personal and career development. A few years ago, he decided to lean into those skills, and he turned his attention to honing the craft of coaching. Lucky for us. And like many of us, he's passionate about the benefits of coaching and is committed to lifting and promoting the value of this profession. Besides generously giving his time as a current member of our chapter's outreach and programming committees, he also expertly edits the chapter's Coaching Corner podcast. If you've listened to those, if you haven't, you should. And here he is, yet again, generously sharing how we can keep a steady stream of clients flowing in our doors and manage the health of our coaching business. So ladies and gentlemen, we can stop guessing about how to measure our business's success. And Eric is going to show us how.
That's a lovely intro. Thank you, Karen. My goodness. Even I want to meet this guy. He sounds so fantastic. But thank you for that, Karen. And all you guys, thank you so much for showing up. This is and really today's thanks for being here. Thanks for workshopping this with me. This is a new presentation that I'm working with. And I think I'm going to be showing it a little bit later this year at International Coaching Week. But today it's a workshop. So I'm really happy to be able to share it with you. I hope you find it helpful. I would love your feedback along the way to just sort of see how this lands. Karen, if you could just keep an eye on the chat and stuff. I'm presenting from a laptop, so as soon as I go into presentation mode, it's like I will see no faces. So Karen, if people look bored, you can tell me to step it up or tell a joke or something. Okay. But I will pop in and out of slideshow mode so we can do a little bit of discussion. I would love it if everyone, keep it on mute so you can, cough and sneeze and everything, but come off mute at any time, interrupt me at any time, and let's have a discussion. There's a few discussion points in here. And I'll just go ahead and get started if that's cool. Any questions before we get started? Okay, share screen. So nice. Cool. Zoom. Okay, so I can see people's faces. That's great. So guys, this is leading activities and scorecards. So the thinking here is that this is a simple path that we can embark upon to less anxiety, better sleep, and better business. We just did the bio, so we don't need to go into this, but it is true that I do, I coach on revenue and profitability as a means of getting to peace of mind, right? And I just want to point out, it's not about greed. It's about not losing sleep over not having my money make enough business and thinking and being fearful of going out of business or not having enough to pay the employees or whatever. So this is about, cash in a business is gas in the tank, as they say. So my revenue and profitability coaching is not about, just get rich fast, gold watch, fast car. It's not about that at all. It's about getting gas in the tank so your business can thrive and survive and create the impact that you wanted to have when you started your business. So today's agenda, it goes back to this. Coaching, we say everything goes back to how. Today is going to be kind of like everything goes back to what's your problem. So today is not necessarily about revenue or profitability, but it could be. Today is about changing a particularly nagging aspect of your business. All right. It could be anything. It could be not enough customers or not enough coached hours or not enough, food in the fridge or not enough time with my kids. That could be a problem in a business, right? So it's about finding something that really just sort of like you don't like that we want to change. So we're going to solve for that particularly nagging aspect through a change in action and a change in accountability. Those are the 2 dimensions we'll be working with. So first discussion point, what are some of the quantifiable things that bug you about your business? Jimmy.
Did you just call me out specifically?
Yeah. So what's something that bugs you about your business? I mean, there's got to be something.
There's a couple of things. I refuse to commit to a niche, which kind of bothers me.
Okay.
And I get the sense at this point in the early stages of my career that it's actually, because of that, it's actually limiting the referral and talkability about my business, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that does make sense. Okay. So Jimmy, one of the nagging problems for Jimmy's business is it's inhibiting the referral ability. Okay, good. So not enough referrals. Interesting. That's the quantifiable problem. Not enough referrals. What about anyone else? Anyone else want to go for one? Fiorella, nice to see you. Hello.
Hi, I have one.
Sure. Please share.
So when is enough credibility enough?
When is enough really going to be enough? And there's and which enough are we talking about? Are we talking about the money enough, or the clients enough, or the?
Well, the expertise in the industry, right? As a Type 7, I have different interests. And, well, also, I guess it comes with age. You have certain experience in different fields. But I'm constantly being reminded that I have to focus in one or two audiences. So, but I want to keep diversifying. So it's that balance, right? When do I get enough credibility to be deemed an expert in a certain field or in another field?
So yeah, that's a great one too. And now how is that? So then the question is how to become, or how to get enough experience, and how can we quantify that? That's an interesting question too. Does anyone else want to throw out one more quantifiable thing that bugs you about your business?
Mine's more an internal processing stuff. I don't spend enough energy and time with my process of like the contracts, the insurance, like having all of the things ready. So when I have an opportunity, I feel like I'm recreating all of the process every time rather than having it really organized and done and just be able to press some buttons, or to even better yet, call a VA who can do that piece for me.
Love it. So these are three really interesting, great business problems. Fiorella, who is struggling to know when enough is enough in terms of the training and the accreditation. Galia, who is struggling with aspects of automation, and Jimmy, which is being nagged by not getting the referral engine going, I guess at the rate at which he wants it. Fantastic, you guys. Great work. So let's go on to the next slide here. Okay, so the novel solution. Did I just skip a slide? No. So now we've got some problems. So this is a two-part solution. Part one is this leading activities, this concept of leading activities, and that's a new kind of action. And part two is scorecards, which is a new kind of accountability. We're all coaches here today, so this is going to be a little bit coach focused, but this works in any type of business or any type of change situation where we're trying to change something. So this could work with students, this can work with business owners, this can work with any place where change is happening. Leading activities and scorecards. We'll do the leading activities first. And keep in mind our goal here: less anxiety, better sleep, and better business. So leading activities, let's go back to it at a conceptual level. Leading versus lagging, or lagging versus leading. I want you to think of the car on the road, right? And the windshield ahead of you and the rear view behind you, right? And that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about two distinct kind of actions in life. Lagging is the looking behind. That's rear view mirror, 24/7 thinking, looking behind. How well did we do? In the car, it would be, how well did I just get off that exit ramp? How well did I just pass that guy? You know what I mean? In business, it's how did we do against our objective last month? You know, what was our sales last month? How much did we do? Great examples of lagging measures or activities are things like sales reports, profit and loss statements, TV ratings, and even social media likes and replies. Even as those are almost instantaneous, they're still rear view mirror. I posted that and I got 20 likes. That's backwards looking, all right? Leading examples, looking forward, right? Leading actions are things like calls we can make today, social media posts we can make this week. Windows to clean is an interesting example. If your business is cleaning windows, or if cleaning a certain number of windows is going to change your business, then it's a looking forward activity. leading activities. The cool thing about leading activities is that they're two very important things, predictive and influenceable, right? Predictive means that if I get to the point where I'm cleaning 100 windows a week, if I'm paid $1 a window, I can predict that I'm going to bring in $100 worth of revenue. But I don't have to worry about the revenue. I just worry about the windows and let the revenue take care of itself. And it's influenceable in the sense that if I only have 20 windows signed up for cleaning, I can get out the Rolodex and go find the 80 others that I need to get to, right? How does that land with you guys? The idea of looking behind versus looking forward in terms of activity?
Well, it makes perfect sense to me. When I think it's exactly like when I think of a lagging, like goals are lagging measures, right? Like you're looking at it backwards. I was first thinking, oh, it's the KPIs that we set. It's the, the objectives that we set. It's the goals that we set. And of course, those are the lagging because we look back because we can only measure it by looking back at it. But yeah, I love the leading versus lagging. That is super, super smart.
Yeah, cool. I'll take it. Thank you for that. And we'll continue on to the next sort of taking a little bit of a deeper look. Yeah, these leading activities are, for a lot of people, they're a new kind of activity type. And it's kind of it's a mind trick, right? Like, I mean, and that's okay, right? Leading activities, and I'm going to share some examples with you on the next slide. They often appear too simple, but that's okay. Like, lean into the simplicity. This is about making things easier, right? Easier, sleeping better, better managed. Leading activities often come from brainstorms. When we get to a problem, right? Jimmy with the referral thing, Galia with the automation thing, Fiorello with the training, right? All huge dimensions of our business, right? All three of those things are things that we all struggle with as coaches, right? What are the solutions? Well, now that we're thinking about what are the leading activities, where do the leading activities come from that can influence these problems? Time to brainstorm, right? So let's get out a bunch of leading activities and figure out what they might do against the problem. Leading activities often start with verbs. And when we do a lot of brainstorming, we're going to come up with a lot of leading activities that seem like they're really, really awesome, like just good to do kind of things, but focus in on the ones that drive the overall goal, right? Like if it's really about getting clients, then it's not, then, put pause on the activities that don't drive that goal. So just remember to keep it aligned with the business objective. I want you, as you look at this list of leading activities, you'll see they all start with an active verb. They all could be tied to the kinds of business goals that we deal with all the time. I want to be less stressed. I want to be more physically fit. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to make more money. I want to have more customers. I want to have, et cetera, et cetera. So I invite you, famous coaching verb, I invite you to think, what would happen to my business or to my problem if I did one or a few of these things? I mean, introduce myself 12 times to someone. I mean, try that for a week. What would happen? Email 15 old friends, meditate 3 times, predictable and influenceable, right? If I meditate 3 times, I'm going to achieve a Zen-like state this week, right? If I've only done it once, I can influence my action and make a point to do it 2 times more, right? No longer rear view mirror. This is straight up driving the car down the road, and reroutable, right? It's just like, we know we're going to the store, still driving the car, looking ahead, something that happens on, the road, detour, still get to the store. Right? Read 6 chapters. Fiorella, that's back to, skilling up, training. Call mom, that's just about centering. Okay, cool. So now we can go to the framework as a workbook. What's the problem we want to solve? What leading activities might solve it? And what amount of leading activities would it take to solve it, right? So who would like to take a stab at or be the volunteer, and we can work through this very quickly? Galia, thank you.
Well, I need some accountability because I know I need to do this. So
I love it. By the way, there will be a downloadable at the end of this that'll help you. That'll be fun for you guys to play with. So, okay, Galia, what's the problem?
I'm disorganized.
Look at these open-ended questions, by the way, coaches. Are you impressed or what? Okay, so disorganized. And then so let's see. So disorganized. How can we make that a quantifiable problem?
I can't easily access like the process for onboarding new clients and sending contracts and proposals and all of those things don't feel automated to me. They all feel like I have to start from scratch every time.
Okay. So now, okay, great, good. That's the problem. We're holding that in our head. What leading activities might solve it? And I want to hear some brainstorming here. I'm going to start with a brainstorm. Galia could spend an hour a week researching automation techniques, right? Or
Yeah, I just
3 hours.
got a referral for chatterboss.com. I think I'm going to call them and onboard them and hire them.
Okay, cool. So that's a pretty specific one. Let's pop over to Jimmy, and Jimmy, let's talk about the referral engine. So the problem that we're looking there is, as you said, not as many referrals as you'd like to have. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's more the outcome, I think. But I'm saying that my problem is I don't have a narrow niche, and so people don't know how to talk about me. So yes, it is a referral problem. It is a referral problem.
Let's work with that. Let's work with people don't know how to talk about me. All right. People don't know how to talk about me. What leading activities might solve this? I'll put the cheat sheet back here too.
Well, I could plant 50 flowers. Yesterday I did 5, but that wasn't on the list. What I will do again is recraft my own story. It seems like I keep wanting to tweak what the story is. Not that things really change that much, but I'm never really satisfied with what the little elevator speech is. And so I think that's why I don't really have one. I hear people that just like repeat their little thing and they do it again and again and they know it and it's perfect. Mine, I don't have that yet.
So what kind of leading activity do you think?
Oh, I could effing write.
You could what?
I could write.
Could write. Yeah. What else? What's something that's like this that that you could do?
I could talk to other. I could if on your list, I could introduce myself 12 times.
Yeah.
And then I would get practiced at it.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So, and how many times do you think you would have to do those introductions on a weekly basis?
How many times?
Yeah. Set a goal for ourselves. 10 introductions, 12?
Yeah, it could be 10 or 12. It depends on, either how much are going to be quote cold calls versus, a networking event or some sort of event that I might go to. So it's a little bit variable. I guess I could nail it down and say, yes, there's going to be 10 introductions. And if there's not an event to go to, then I'll just randomly cold call people from LinkedIn or whatever. Dial up businesses.
Yeah. And precisely. And, that gets us to the next concept of I'm going to solve the problem by doing these leading activities this many times, right? I'm going to, as Jimmy, I'll now do it. I'm going to, workshop my niche statement, my elevator pitch by introducing myself to 12 people a week, right? Until the goal is achieved. The most important thing here is the third bullet point. How? Who cares? Do the activity. Just do it. So introduce yourself to 12 times a week. If you get to Friday and, you haven't found a networking event, then you're introducing yourself to like the cashier at Publix and like the dude at the bus stop, right? But we're doing it and we're letting the magic sort of happen, right? So we're picking an event that drives an outcome, right? And simply forcing ourselves to do it without being preoccupied with outcome. This is the big mind shift here, is that I'm not worried about solving my niche. I don't have to figure that out. I'm just going to tell 12 people who I am, right? And I'm going to keep doing that at the rate of 12 times a week until all of a sudden this problem just solves itself. Because we're all great problem solvers in the back of our head, right? Cool. So what is the impact of having these leading actions that are predictive and influenceable, right? We could easily predict that if we, all of us knowing Jimmy, we could easily predict that if he does this 12 times a week, tells people who he is and what he's up to, after a couple of weeks, he's going to be pretty good in his own head, not only explaining himself, but understanding who he is, understanding what value he brings, understanding where he fits in the community and the world at large, right? Because if he does this reliably, we can predict, we can see what the outcome is going to be. It's very easy to see it in Jimmy's case, right? And it's influenceable, right? He can change where he's going each and every time he does one of these introductions. The last time I shouldn't have told him about this thing. I should have told him about that thing. Well, here we go again, right? Changing directions. I have now agency and activity and I can control it, right? We're driving the car as opposed to it driving us. The problem's getting solved, but hell, all I have to do is show up and, introduce myself to people. How hard is that, right? And then as these things start working out, because we're choosing to solve a problem that presumably is nagging us, then this is going to change. How would this change our lifestyle? These nagging problems, we're working on them, we're solving them. Are we still worrying about them as much? Are we as stressed? So, see, did I get that right? Yeah. Okay. So this is the last slide of part 1, and then we'll go into part 2, which is the scorecards. But before we do, thoughts from the group, please. Remember, part 1 is this new kind of action, and then we'll shift to scorecards, which is the new kind of accountability.
I really appreciate, I know this, I know these things, but I don't practice them, and having to say them out loud in front of a crowd is much like Callie was saying, I need the accountability. So there we are. So thank you, Eric, for bringing this and calling me out like that. It's appreciated.
Just have to say that just thinking about it, I feel the shift in my body, because that is something that is there. It's noise. It's heavy. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Eric, it's interesting that you are bringing this to the table, because for me, all of these things that you're talking about, like in terms of stress levels, sleep, all of those things. I mean, in my case, it's really about trying to connect with more clients and really, closing those deals. But, I was feeling, or have been feeling, a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety because it's not happening, and I hadn't clearly defined how to approach the problem until recently. And actually, my wife was a big help in kind of formulating this thing through this book that I had. And so it's just great. And I'm in the beginning stages of this process. But already I can feel myself feeling better about not having, not like in terms of being more focused, more organized, and at least have a plan. And I think that's, for me, that's one of the biggest things, is really to have a plan.
Andre, and thank you for sharing that. Truly, because again, it's one of the nice things about this is that it can, we can sort of step back from the terror of freaking out about the solution, right? And we can also step back from some problems from, also it becomes a very simplistic plan, doesn't it? All I have to do is do this, this one activity time and time again, and then, we'll let the chips fall where they may, right? Because we are all really engaging talented coaches who believe in coaching, right? If we simply tell enough people what we do and hit them with that power statement, I believe in the power of coaching because it's profoundly changed my life and it can change yours too, or some version of that. Not only do you believe it and say it with more conviction, right? But the other people will believe it too. So cool. So that's the leading activities part. And now we can move over to thank you for that, Andre. That was awesome. So now we can go into the scorecard part. All right. So scorecards are the second part. They're the accountability structure. The theory behind the scorecard, first we figure out what the scoring is going to be. In Jimmy's case, we know it's, introductions to 12 people. Thank you, Jimmy, for that example. It's just a really good one to work with. Make sure everyone knows the score. This is a lot of us are single person operators, one man shop. So in this case, it's us knowing the score for ourselves, but we may want to share it, right, with those two around us. I would certainly share mine with my coach, my scorecard. And then the third part is that because, right, then we're being held accountable. Number 3, people play the game differently when they are keeping the score. Think about that for a minute. What happens when, it's like, imagine the football game with no score, right? Imagine the basketball game with no clock. I mean, when there's the elements of time and score introduced into something, it changes the way we act against it. Right. And because we're talking about driving simple actions here, these are not hard games to play. Right. So just keep that in mind. People play differently when they are keeping score, not others, us. Right. And the scorecard, lastly, delivers safety in numbers. And we'll talk about it. You'll see in the next slide what I mean. But the idea is, here, let's just go to the next slide. Why not? The idea is when you know where you are, there's no more guesswork. Right? Look at number 3 on the bottom here. Here's the target, $1,000 in the bank account. Last week had 1,200. The number is green. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night thinking, Jesus, how much money do I have in the bank? Is it enough? Should it be enough? You know what I mean? Could it be more? Could it be less? It's like, it's the not knowing where we stand that kills us on these nagging problems, right? Whatever your target number is, you think about it, you choose it deliberately. $1,000 is just a placeholder, but I think we all probably have an idea of what number, if I had it in the bank, would I know that, like, I'm good, right? And then if you go over and you see that we're green above that, then, the worry evaporates. I mean, at which point do we have worry at all, right? If we know that that number is a safe number, we're exceeding it, right? Look at the week before, 800. Okay, below target, right? But we're all gap analysis, gap solution thinkers. It's what we do for a living, right? This is just a numbers problem. We're at 8, we got to get it to a 10. How do we do it? Coach is, back to the plant flowers at the top. Plant flowers, the owner is me. I'm on the hook for that. The target is 50 flowers a week. Last week we did 55, week before 42, 41. Sort of see how this is going. And ride my bike 80 miles, right? That's a mind and body goal, 80 miles a week. Last week I did 100 at Screen. Previous week 70. Whoa, rode my bike 100 miles. Now I'm not worried about, what's that? I mean, like, what does that do for me? I don't know. Not lying around at night thinking I'm out of shape, not worrying so much about the old ticker, right? Not so much, worried about the weight gain, right? So it alleviates all these trickles, right? So I ask you, and I'd love to hear some shares. What are the 3 to 5 things? This is on the sample scorecard. 3 elements: plant flowers, ride my bike, keep money in the bank, right? Do those 3 things. How's my life going to change? I don't know. Plant 50 flowers. It's going to change something. So what are the 3 to 5 things that if you didn't worry about, I think this sentence could be written better, but what are the 3 to 5 things that if you didn't worry about, you would sleep well at night? What are the 3 to 5 things that keep us up at night? Anyone got 1 or 2 or 3? Because these are the things that go on the scorecard.
I think for me, it's closing deals. Like once I connect with a potential client, there's typically there's a process and it spans a certain period of time, and those are the things that keep me up. Is wondering, okay, what can I do? How can I approach this in a different way? Those types of things. Yeah,
and Andre, I would invite you to even, and you'll see a little bit later, I've backed that out for myself. Like I've got to close deals. I find I also have to close deals. We all have to get clients, right? We have to close deals as business people, right? I find that to be particularly like terrifying, terrorizing. It's upsetting. I don't know. I don't like closing deals, but I sure like talking to people. So I've backed that out to sample sessions. right? And I know if I do, I don't know, 6 sample sessions, there's a high likelihood that 1, maybe 2, maybe 6, but at least 1 or 2 out of 6 are probably going to say, yeah, sure, I'll take a chance on you. You know what I mean? I'll go down this path with you, dude. So, I mean, then if we say, okay, well, you can sort of extrapolate from there. I want to get 1 or 2 more clients a month. Well, then that means I got to do between, 6 and 12 sample calls a month. And that's just 3 or 4 a week. So, that becomes something we can put on the scorecard, right? Like I think that actually is on my scorecard, 3 sample sessions a week, right? From where? I don't know. Hey, Jimmy, you know anyone who wants to talk to a business coach? Hey, Galia, you have anyone who might be interested in, anyone who's, would take a half hour, 45 minutes and just talk to me about their business. So, again, now I'm not worried about closing. Now I'm not worried about like where the client's going to come from, or I'm never going to build a book of business or anything. I just got to worry about those sample sessions, which I enjoy anyway. And it's not even selling, So thank you for that example, Andre. That was a really good one. So these are the things that go on the scoreboard. The money in the bank account is one that killed me in my last business, just absolutely killed me. Constantly living in the fear that and I'm talking, this business we were flowing through $150,000 a month and never had more than, I don't know, $1,500 in the bank account. That's how close to the bone this business was. And man, you want to talk stress, that is stressful. I was running a scorecard there every single day, which was how much money is in the bank account? How much money are we going to have to pay today? What checks are out? And are we plus or minus $1,000? And that was when the number would turn red, and there were times where it's like, it's $300 and it's like, holy shit, like, like you're checking your pockets, you know what I mean? So, but if I could get it to green, right? And if it was green, and many days it was, but not by much, I knew we would have enough money to sustain operations for the day, right? And at that point, I could at least put aside the worry that my business was going to fail today and get back to the business of running the business, right? So that's the safety in numbers that I'm talking about. Shakti, I didn't know you were here. Hello.
Hi, I joined very late. I'm sorry. I missed part 1 altogether, but I'm already taken in by part 2. So
I love it. I love it.
As you're talking about this part 2 aspect, one thing that especially as you just mentioned the example of the money, I find that for me, what's important also is I haven't actually made a scorecard, but now I'm really going to do it. I have my little to-do list, but I kind of like this idea of having a bigger picture scorecard. I think an important aspect for me would be not to put in a number that is going to make me, because I think it can really drag me down too. Like that stress over, oh my God, it's red. Like there has to be a buffer. And so being realistic about that, and managing, okay, when you're in the red or whatever, whether it's in the red or it doesn't have to be about money, but can be about anything. When you're in the red, so to speak, what do you do to manage that so that you're not shooting yourself in the foot and now kind of turning yourself upside down and totally incapable of reaching your goals?
Yeah. I think this goes, we all know what a SMART goal is. And, or a lot of us, I assume, yeah, we know what a SMART goal is. SMART goals they're what are they? Well, it doesn't matter. The A is for attainable, right? That's what the A in the SMART goal is attainable. And these are the only goals I believe that we should ever set, because a cascading, a goal of doing it just 1% more day after day after day adds up, right? But this cascade of wins, of achieving goals and then setting them higher is what, really drives change. So yes, Shakti, thank you. One way of getting the red goals or green is to be less ambitious to the point where you can easily attain them. I think it was Calvin and Hobbes who said that Calvin was like, I set my expectations in life low enough to the point where they're already met, right? Okay, that's a pretty Zen way of living life, but I would think we can do just a little bit more. Galia, thank you for that.
I wanted just to piggyback on what Shakti just said, because I am the complete opposite. I love setting super lofty goals, because if I don't set them really crazy goals, then I don't do anything. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to be content. So for me, not reaching my goals does not stress me out. being in the red is motivation a little bit to keep trying and working harder. And maybe that comes from my background in fundraising, because, you know, at a nonprofit, every year you have to raise your entire budget. So the calendar turns the next day and you're back at zero and you've got to raise $5 million again, or whatever the budget is again. And I always exceeded my budgets, right? So I always, and it was a huge lift to do, you know, and it came from various sources. It wasn't my own business. Some of it was grant writing. Some of it was, corporate. There was lots of sources of money, and I have transferred that same attitude into my business, and set quarterly goals for myself that are very lofty. But I'm super motivated by that. So I think it's also a personality thing. I think you have to sort of understand your personality and what excites you and what motivates you. Then I don't know. So I'm just sort of thinking out loud. For me, not reaching my goals I'm okay with that. It doesn't defeat me, and it actually motivates me to have really lofty goals.
I love that.
So
And
they're not that smart, but they're motivating.
well, to yes, and on top of that, I mean, the kind of goals and accountability structure that we're putting together today, thank you for that, Galia, are not necessarily the only goals we can have. Like, Galia, you can still have the goal of, like, we need to raise 500,000 or 500 million or 5 million or 500 million or whatever it is every quarter, and then still have sort of your own personal scorecard and activities that drive towards that, And of course, Galia and Shakti, right? No right, wrong, no wrong answers. I mean, we're setting it for ourselves. So we set a goal that feels that drives and motivates us without being, that's the thing about goals, right? We should drive them. They shouldn't drive us, or the other way, but they shouldn't be this fearful thing that, pin us down. They should be things that help us self-motivate. Cool. The scorecard, quickly, likely the best scorecards, you'll see some examples here, are a mix of leading and lagging. We're talking about leading activities a lot because of all the power that they have. On the scorecard, there should be a little mix of lagging metrics as well, like money in the bank, right? If there's things that are actually lagging that we want to keep track of, they can be on the scorecard. Scorecard doesn't need to be only leading, but it should be a mix. So KISS, keep it simple, right? So yes, my point here is let the data analysis and the big thinking happen elsewhere. Back to Andre, right? It's the three. Just do don't worry about the business. Don't worry about the future. Just go bag your 3 sample sessions this week, and don't even worry about next week's. Just do the 3. And Jimmy, just hit the 12 intros. You know what I mean? And let the business release, right? Like, become unattached to outcome and just do the activity, and it will follow. And then the MOTN, I made that up. See if it takes off. It's the middle of the night stuff, right? When you're waking up in the middle of the night, this is a great time to think about this. This is where the insight can potentially happen. The middle of the night is, of course, a metaphor for any time: shower, bathroom, elevator, whatever. Whenever ideas pop up, nagging, third person observation. Look at yourself. What is nagging you? That's a great place to start figuring out how can I turn that around, back out of the terror, and find a leading activity. So a goal, whatever that goal is, what's on your scorecard? Pick your goal. It could be a person, a place, or a thing at which a point in time at which your problems evaporate, right? Or the nagging problem evaporates. Then some leading measures, some lagging measures, and acceptable ranges. And then we get into a scorecard. Here's not exactly a scorecard, but here's sort of a little matrix of what might be on the scorecard, right? So keep in mind your goal, leading measures, lagging measures, and acceptable ranges. So the measure in this case is sample sessions per week, right, Andre? 6. Why? Because it will lead to 2 plus 2 clients a month, right? And emotionally, what does that do to me? Puts me in control, and a raft of other things if I start really getting 2 clients a month per month, because I know what happens after 8 months of that, right? Bank balance, never less than 10,000 or 1,000 or 100,000. Why? Because if I get to the point where if I have more than 10,000 or 20,000 or 100,000, it gives me time to fix things. If I dip down and that number goes red at the 10,000 mark, I know I have 1 week, 10 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever, to turn that ship around, right? We're not waiting for zero. We just want to know where we are, where the fail-safe moment is, right? So you can course correct and get out of there, right? Knowing where that emotionally, what does that do? Makes me feel solid, right? It's cool. Numbers above 10,000, I'm good. And then client sessions per week. Look at that one. That's a beautiful one. I'm not worried about my rate. I'm not worried about, do I have too many or too few? It's just 16. Why? Will lead to 12 referrals a year, right? These 16 sessions, maybe none of them are paid. Maybe every last one of them is a pro bono. But why would I do 16 pro bono sessions a week? Because it will lead to 12 referrals a year at full pay. Feels proactive, right? I'm doing it. Cool. So we're getting towards the end here. So you guys can start formulating your questions for the remaining minutes. But this is a very simple scorecard format that I will be sharing with you guys, and you guys can figure it out and put on it what you will. This is sort of an example, but it's sort of not. I mean, the numbers are sort of made up, but it's kind of an interesting way of looking at it. You'll notice that this is a very typical business scorecard format too, by the way. Typically, one category for sales, one category for business financial health, one category for operational health, and one category for company culture, right? We're all small companies, right? So for sales, lagging metric of total revenue per week, right? Target's 2,500. And then as you can see, I've slotted it out for the previous weeks, and I can see what that tell me. Things are getting better. Things are going in the right direction, getting better. That's a lagging, that's rear view mirror stuff, but still it's important to know where we are, right? Next one, leading sample sessions, target 3 a week. And you can see I'm doing better, hitting my 3. Leading, and then down the road, if we were really testing this hypothesis of sample sessions lead to referrals, we could track referrals as a lagging. Anyway, so leading sample sessions 3, referral asks 3. That's another activity, right? 3 times a week, I'm going to ask one of my clients, is there anyone who would benefit from my services? Because right now I am doing that 0, right? And everyone knows that's the easiest way to build your client base. Just ask for referrals. Yet I don't do it. Will I do it if I put it on there? Lot more chance. So that you can sort of see my sales initiatives here, and they can be anything. It could be LinkedIn posts, it could be emails to friends, whatever leading activity you guys think would eventually wind up with, clients on the roster, whatever it is, put it in here, pick a number that's comfortable, right? And then just happily, merrily work to the number. Okay, finances, cash in the bank account, totally made up number. Your numbers will be different. Client satisfaction score, operations, right? This could be in a typical business. This could be like inventory, or how much. What's the percentage return rate of all the cinder blocks that we sell? What percentage of them are getting returned, right? Just operational indicators of health. Client satisfaction score. How do we calculate that? I don't know. I poll my clients once a week and ask them to rate me on a scale of 1 to 10. Right? And it comes back, I'm shooting for an average of 8 or better, right? Client satisfaction. And then culture. This is a fun one for me. Employee happiness score. Only one employee. How you feeling, buddy? You know what I mean? Self-rate, self-observe. Why not? My goal is to feel like an 8, right? But lately, I've been feeling like a 6, A couple of weeks ago, I was feeling like a 4, so I guess I'm doing better, right? And then Fiorella, this one's for you too. CCEUs attained, right? Hey, I'm going for a renewal. I need to get these CCEUs logged, right? So my goal is to get 1.5 CCEU a week. Not hard. I'm in a coaching club that costs up 1.5. And you'll see the week of March 6th, I must have went to a master's class because I got 3 that week. So that's my scorecard. Thoughts on this? By the way, like I said, I will be sharing this with you guys in the, so this I'll be sharing with you, should you care to take it. Discussion point. Anyone care to react? Talk about any of these questions? Feedback on the presentation?
Well, feedback on the presentation, fantastic. Love your energy. Love the ideas. Love the agenda, sticking to the agenda, bringing in engagement. So really, really well done, Eric.
Love that. Thank you. This is the first time out with this presentation, by the way. So that means a lot, Jimmy. Thank you. Stuli, I didn't know you were in here. Hello.
Hi, how are you guys doing? I came in a little late. I'm trying to catch up, but I love the whole concept. I think it's, in a way, it's brilliant because working with small businesses, I think the entire concept works. And also you're branching, you're giving a metrics, you're motivating, not only that you're motivating yourself, but you're motivating your client. And as a person that did consulting for small business, this is very good. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing. I look forward to getting the recordings so I can go over the parts that I missed.
No, that's awesome, Stuli. Thank you so much for that.
Let me chime in. Great energy, Eric. Love it. I also came in half an hour later, but anyways, the scorecard part that I've seen is just great. And for me, I mean, I work with numbers. I set myself goals, but break it down on a weekly basis was something I've never really thought about it. I'm more annual goals and then breaking it down to month. But I think why not going down to the week? So I will measure also my bike rides now on a weekly basis.
Oh, Sven, I love that. Thank you for that. And by the way, this scorecard is just one way of keeping track. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You know, I mean, you can put a bag of apples on the counter with the goal of every time Jimmy does an introduction, he gets to take an apple. And when the 12 apples are gone, I mean, that's the scorecard. So, you know, whatever works for you guys, you know?
Eric, great job. Super interactive. Love the ideas. And I love the QR code on every slide. I checked it out immediately and went to your cool website. So that's really good marketing.
Thanks.
Yeah. So good job. Thank you.
Love that, Galia. Thank you. You guys, I'll
Eric,
go
Eric,
ahead.
before I just wanted to say one thing while you were talking. I was thinking about how some of those daunting goals, I love that Galia has lofty goals, and that for me, it's helpful when I'm looking to scale something really, really out of my reach to imagine. I was doing this while you were talking. Imagine a ladder with rungs on it. And that seems more attainable for me. When I start looking at each of those rungs, the way you've laid it out, it seems much more attainable. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that visual, which came from your presentation. So thank you for that.
Also, Eric, I would say that for me, if I had a scorecard, it would be useless if it lived in my computer, but it would be very effective if it was on my wall. And so I think inviting people to display it and put it and create it in a way that makes sense, because I'm not going to log on to I don't want to go into a spreadsheet because that sounds painful. But if it was on my wall, I might get excited to click off the boxes, right? And so just FYI, I think the way we use it and where we put it really makes a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I'm going to put that in here right now, whiteboard heaven, because it is, you know.
Totally.
There's one big one that you can get in divided by quarter that you can get on Amazon. I got one, but actually my problem with lofty goals, and it's an amazing presentation. I'm like, fire up. Thank you so much. Is that I put these lofty goals and somehow as I fail, I train my brain to, okay, I'll do it later. And then I get this big anxiety about, how time is going by. But just the fact that I could quantify it and not just write it down on the wall, but quantify it and keep it tracking, it's an amazing idea. It didn't occur to me. Thank you so much.
Oh, lovely. Thank you for that feedback. And I love the idea of putting it up on the wall, putting it anywhere, wherever it works. There's a coach I know who, his hourly rate is he's one of these guys with this hourly rate where it's just sort of like, you figure it out and it just makes your stomach hurt, where it's like, oh my God, does someone actually charge that much? And then he showed me once, he's got a big calendar on the wall, and that's it. Just this big Home Depot calendar. And he tracks one metric. His scorecard is one metric. How many sessions this week? and that's it, man. And if he can keep that between 30 and 50, which by the way, is the range that he considers acceptable, then he knows he has no problems at all in the world with anything. I mean, you talk about boiling it out to just, taking it back to the thing you love and finding a way to get to that many sessions, holding the rate solid, and then you want to take whatever you want at that point, right? Vacation, Maserati. He doesn't want any of that. He drives a Kia Soul, for God's sakes. But you get my point. Guys, if you are interested in this, I just put the link in the chat. You can't edit the spreadsheet, but you can make a copy for yourself. You can download it as an Excel, whatever. Or you can do what half I think the people are going to do, which is keep track on paper or the whiteboard or whatever works. If you guys are working with people, clients or whatever, if you or someone you're working with would really like to dig a little bit deeper in this, the Bible on this kind of thinking is the 4 Disciplines of Execution, this book right here. It could be had, they sold, as you can see, #1, whatever, bestseller. There's a bazillion copies of this out there used. So you can pick up a used copy on Amazon or Abe's Books for just a couple bucks. But it is absolutely the Bible on this kind of thinking. So
Eric's not lying. That book's amazing. I read it years ago. It's so good. 40X is the way to go.
yeah, it's a really interesting. And
I'm sure Ebony knows.
It's a great one for clients too. Merry Christmas, clients. Here's the 4 Disciplines of Execution. Cool. Well, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate, well, first off, I appreciate so many of you actually showing up. I think that's just fantastic. And thank you so much for that. I really appreciate all your kind comments and warmth towards the presentation and the presenter and the presenter style. So thank you for that. As I said, this was the first time that this presentation has been taken out to the world. So thank you for your feedback. And if you have any additional feedback or whatever, I'd love to hear about it. Or if you have any additional questions or whatever, I'd love to hear about that too. There's my email address and a QR code that goes right to the old website.
Nice.
Cool.
Well, I'm excited. I get to fill out a survey for once. So this is fun.
Oh, exciting.
Thank you, Eric, so much for your enthusiasm in the content and the resources that you share. This has been great. And I think Fiorella put up here, same thing I was thinking. If only we need another one now, like we need a Facebook group where we can all hold each other accountable. Thank you so much. I know that if you ever want to see these recordings, and you will see this one available on YouTube, you can see Adias Garcia's last month's is available already. And if you want to mark your calendar now, Galia Pennycamp is going to be doing a presentation the second Tuesday of next month, which is April 11th. So mark it down. And if anyone is interested in the 2 remaining slots for this year, it's October and December, and I'd be happy to hear from you just to sign up for that. Eric, I know, is available on LinkedIn if you want to connect with him. And yep. I imagine because of your email there, you've got the QR code, but also your website is eric@goeres.com.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. That was amazing. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.